Welcome to the Erin Wilson Show. I'm Erin, designer, creative strategist, intuitive, and the CEO of Erin Rachel Designs. This is a space for reflection, insights, and storytelling, with the intention of giving you the keys you need to unlock your creative potential and become the creative CEO of your own life. It's been a while since I've recorded a solo episode. If you haven't checked out my first guest episode that I recently shared with Deborah Robison, who is an RMT, I highly recommend checking it out. We talk a lot about the nervous system, the vagus nerve, and how to support those so you can be a more effective leader. It's really great for super ambitious people who tend to take on a lot. The nervous system and supporting it is something we can certainly overlook in that process of chasing our dreams. So check that out. It just feels like my identity is shifting and changing so deeply and so rapidly. And there's been so much change really for a long time. And the kind of change that's coming in now, it does feel a lot more positive and expansive. So I'm really excited about that. And right now, I really feel that I'm in a season of spaciousness. I ended a big design contract for a major initiative. It was a lot of hard work. It was very exciting. I did decide to walk away from that. And around the same time, my other client load started shifting. One of my main clients for many years has kind of pulled away, taking things more in-house. So I went from such a small amount of space to now this massive amount of spaciousness in my life. And past versions of me would rush to fill that because of the feeling of uncertainty, the anxiousness that comes with that, and just how unsettling it is to, especially when it comes to financial matters, to not really know where those next sources of income are coming from and when. I'm in a lucky position where my husband and I, we balance each other out quite well, it seems. Like his busy season seems to balance with my slower seasons and vice versa. And I know that I've planted a lot of seeds for future income opportunities. And yeah, it's just interesting how past versions of me would rush to fill that. And I have felt anxious and I have felt fear, but not near the same amount as before. And I feel like I'm in this new version of me that's more trusting, that has it's been through enough to have the resilience to sit through the discomfort long enough and be curious enough to see what is within that for me to discover and to see what's on the other side and to also allow it to unfold and release control over the when, the why, the how, the what, all those things, which is wild to say because that's definitely something I've struggled with in the past, especially the control piece. So yeah, I'm just being curious and I'm taking this time to rest more, to go inward, to get really clear on what I want the next chapter to look like. Getting clear on what I want and also releasing attachment to, maybe it does look a bit different. Maybe it's even better than what I'm expecting. Maybe it's going to unfold in a completely different way than what I'm expecting. So I'm really not attaching myself to anything in particular. I'm just saying, this is what I would like my life to look like. This is my overall vision. This is what I'm going for. And being open to the universe surprising me. And I think that's really the key to manifesting the life that you want is it's going with the flow, it's becoming clear on what you want, it's taking aligned action towards those things, but it's releasing attachment to how it all comes together and opening ourselves up to being surprised. And who doesn't like being surprised? I mean, some people don't, but you know, it's a nice idea that it's like there's these gifts coming my way and I don't know what they're going to be. I don't know how they're going to be wrapped and delivered to me and all those things. So it's exciting. And yeah, it just feels like there's so many themes that have come up recently that I've really wanted to talk about on here. But I've been just relaxing more into taking it easy and grounding more, playing more, being creative just for the sake of it. I feel like as a result, I am more grounded, I am more relaxed, I am more curious so that when it inevitably does become busy again and all these new opportunities come in, I'm able to handle them better. I'm able to receive them. One of the recent experiences I wanted to talk about was that I ran a 10K. It was a trail run here in Maple Ridge, and I was inspired by my best friend who also recently did a race. She encouraged me to sign up for one, and I was like, "Yeah, you know what? That sounds like a good challenge. The weather's nice." So I had a look around and I wanted to sign up for a 5K. I do run occasionally, but I'm definitely not a seasoned runner or anything like that. So I figured it would be good to start smaller. But most or all of the local runs that would have been convenient to get to were sold out. And this one was available. It was 10K. So I was like, you know what? I'll sign up. And even if I have to walk for most of it, that's fine. And so I signed up with 3 weeks to train. And in hindsight, I get how crazy this all sounds, especially being a trail run, because I mostly trained on sidewalks and the level of trail that this run was on was pretty intense. So yeah, I was doing 2 to 3 runs a week and really just focusing on keeping a sustainable pace, not burning out quickly. And some days were hard. Some days I felt amazing and I was really shocked and impressed at my endurance. So that was exciting. And I was also doing some reformer Pilates and yoga, stretching, walking to balance it out. But yeah, I put my body through a lot in those 3 weeks. And something that came up was starting a conversation with my body. And it's funny how I did the episode with Deborah in this period as well. Starting a conversation with my body around we're doing this for fun. We're doing this just to challenge ourselves and see what we can do. We're not running from anything. We're safe. It's okay. I've got you. And I could really feel an energetic shift within me when I did that. And even though my body has been tired, it's been sore, at the end of the actual race, I was really, really sore. But I'm really moving into a phase of operating in my life where I'm working with my body, I feel like really for the first time ever. I know women especially can struggle with this, just with historically speaking, diet culture being a little more targeted towards women and our hormones and how they naturally ebb and flow can make it really hard to have the same consistency and discipline that men can have without it causing irreparable damage sometimes. And so having this conversation with my body just felt like a whole new way of looking at it and my intentions behind increasing my exercise, taking better care of myself and my health is so different from where it was 10 years ago or more, where there it was more about trends, feeling like I belong, feeling like I'm worthy enough, that I'm beautiful enough, and all those things. And now it's like, I have this really big vision that I'm building in my life, and I want to make sure that I take care of myself enough that I can see it through and feel good doing it. because I've experienced burnout. I've experienced major health challenges. I've been in those really low lows, and it's not sustainable. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't enable me to be of service in the way that I want to, in the extent that I want to. So, my priorities and my intentions behind all of that are just so different. And as a result, I'm kinder to myself. I have more grace and patience in the process because I'm working with my body. I'm not trying to control it. And I'm really, it's still early on in the process of opening up that two-way communication. And it's learning to trust me. I'm learning to trust it. And it's such a beautiful thought that it's like there's my soul in this body, and then there's the vessel, and we really have a partnership together in this life. And how we choose to navigate that plays a huge role in what we're able to accomplish and how we feel doing it. And in the process of training, a theme that was coming up for me was momentum. And I think this relates really well to the themes of control, going with the flow, trusting the process, and being in a slower, more spacious time. Because when you hear the word momentum, I think many of us think of speed, discipline, continuous exponential growth, or acceleration, or things like that. And in the past, I've seen these slow periods, or even within my body, periods where my health is suffering, my body needs more time and care. I've seen it as a failure, or a slowing down, or a halting of momentum. And almost like now I have to start over. But there was one day I went out for a run, and my cycle's been a bit wonky. So I wasn't feeling my best that day. And I went in with low expectations. I was kind of struggling. So I was like, you know what? If I have to stop and do a brisk walk and walk the rest of the way, that's totally fine. It's just important that I'm getting out, I'm moving. I had just come up a hill. I was tired. And so I slowed down to a brisk walk and then slowed down a bit more. And then at this point, I was kind of giving myself that pep talk. It's okay if you have to walk the rest of the way. I allowed myself to walk. And then I was surprised a few minutes later. I was like, you know what? I think I could run again. I'm feeling good. I think my body just needed to take a breather, kind of reset a little bit. And then I was able to run most of the way home. I was about halfway through that day's run. Once I started to pick up that pace again after taking that break, a light bulb went off, and I was like, that's momentum. It's not continuous, nonstop movement like we might imagine it is. If you think of the absolute starting point in your journey versus where you are, well, in this case, for me, 3 weeks later, or depending on what you're working towards, right? 2 months later, 20 years later, it's the showing up consistently over time, and ebbs and flows in the speed, in progress, in results, in effort is all a part of that process of sustainable long-term momentum. I was able to connect this light bulb moment and this lesson, all these lessons that were coming up for me during the process of training, to my business and to the vision I'm building. And something that my business coach said to me once I really fully let her in on what I'm trying to create, because it almost feels delusional, the scale of what I want to create. And I'll share more about it on here at some point. But she was like, what you're building isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. That requires endurance. It requires showing up over and over and over again. and making sure that I'm taking care of myself in the process, whatever that looks like, and giving myself that grace and space and rest. Race day came around. I didn't get in as many runs as I had initially hoped, but that was okay. I knew I would still do well considering I really only started training a few weeks before. The weather was perfect. It wasn't too hot. I'd done couple of 5Ks years and years ago. And I was reminded of how amazing the energy is in an environment like that. Everyone's very encouraging and supportive. And even though it's a race, there's this energy of we're all in it together, which is so amazing. The trail ended up being so much harder than I was expecting. Parts where it was really hard to run and keep up that speed because there's tree roots sticking out and rocks and piles of bear poop and all the things that you find in the woods here in BC. I'm sure this is common for runners. It can take me 10 or so minutes to get past that point of my muscles being sore and feeling winded to my body adjusts and then I'm able to keep up that pace. And so partway through, I'd finally kind of got into that groove and the path wasn't too obstructed, it wasn't too hilly. And then I came up to a couple of women who were stopped, one of which was on the ground and she looked like she was in a lot of pain. And it turned out she had dislocated her shoulder. So I stopped moving and I wanted to make sure they were okay. I was helping them look for a number we could call. There was first aid tents, but we were kind of awkwardly in between them at that point. I tried helping out and we weren't really getting anywhere with contacting someone. So some other people had already gone ahead and were surely going to let someone know once they got to that point. And I asked them, "Are you guys okay if I continue?" Because they had each other and they were like, "Oh yeah, go for it." So I went ahead and so this delayed my finish time, but I didn't feel disappointed by that. And I again was relating it to the bigger picture, where it's like we have this vision of how things are going to unfold, and we picture this seamless journey of point A to point B. But along the way, you will need to stop and take care of yourself. You will need to stop and see if other people are okay, or something unexpected will come up that you have to navigate. And for that to all be okay and to create space or allow space for those things to happen and trusting that it's all a part of the journey and it's all intentional in some way. Like we can learn something from all of those experiences. They're all opportunities for new information and growth. And then there was parts of this trail that were just extreme hills, so it's hard to run down because you don't want to pick up too much momentum that then you're at risk of slipping and falling. And then coming back up, it's almost impossible to run as well because it's just so steep and you just burn out. So it took me, I would say, 20 to 30 minutes longer to finish than what I had expected based on my training. But I was actually quite impressed because given all of the things that came up and how hard the terrain was, I thought it would have been longer than that. So overall, really proud of myself. And I just love the opportunity to take the lessons from that experience and bring it into other areas of my life. And I think that's such a great way to look at really every experience that we have in life and to find these themes and patterns that we can extract and apply to other areas. It's just an amazing opportunity that I don't think we all take advantage of to the extent that we could. And so that's something I'm really trying to just bring into how I operate and navigate the world. So it's been a couple of weeks now since my race, and my body is still asking for a lot of patience. And that's okay. I'm giving her lots of rest and care and easing back into exercise. I've been feeling called to get extra sleep and just have time in the day where I don't consume anything like in terms of media and stuff like that, just kind of being in my own energy and seeing what comes up. And that's definitely something that I've struggled with in the past, kind of relaxing into that space. It is getting easier, like anything with practice, it gets better. And in the process of doing that, I had a bit of a weird week last week where my energy just felt off. I think I was kind of ebbing back into feeling discomfort in this process of spaciousness and uncertainty. And Matt had worked late most days last week. It's really busy for him right now. And I just spent a lot of time alone. And I really enjoy my own company and I have a pretty high tolerance for it and I make good use of the time. But by Friday, I was feeling quite restless and I was just feeling like I want to be in someone's company right now. I don't really feel like being alone. So I reached out to a few friends and basically no one ended up being available. And I was disappointed initially. But at the end of the day, like, you know what? Let's watch a movie, hang out with our cat. It's all good. It's just another night and I have plans coming up. So it's all good. But in the process of no one being available and kind of being left to my own energy a little longer than was comfortable, it gave me the opportunity to really sink into that discomfort long enough to become curious about why it was there. What is the root of that discomfort? And I had this whole revelation, which I wrote a Substack article about, which I'll link in the episode description. But in a nutshell, I realized that there's this empty space in my life that I would like to very intentionally fill with another person. And the role that that person would play would be business partner of sorts. I don't know what the exact title would be. And I don't know how the logistics and the finances and ownership and all those things. I don't know exactly what that would look like. And that's the point, right? Is just becoming clear on what we want and being open to all the details surrounding it. And I realized that I have this sense of longing and loneliness that, I have my partner, I have my friends, I have my family, and I maintain those relationships and they feel really good. And I'm really happy with the system that I have in my life right now. I have a good business support system that's more than I've ever had in the past. And it's all amazing. But there's this longing there for someone to really be, how I put it in the article, is in the weeds with me, like someone who's got their hands in the soil and they're planting this garden with me so that we're going through the journey together and we can relate because we fully understand because we're in it. We're both in the same process together. And that's a level of partnership and companionship that I'm not going to be able to get from a friendship or from my husband because it's just different. And this is a challenging thing about building a business on your own, mainly remotely. I pretty much exclusively operate out of my home, at least for now. I do have relationships and engage with people every week, but it's different from having someone right next to you, not even literally physically, but they're working on the same mission and they have the same North Star that you're both working towards. And that's just a very different feeling. I've actually had it before. And when it was great, it was really, really great. You can read more about that experience as well in the Substack article, my experience of having a business partner in the past. And I think there's been a void there ever since where that didn't work out. But when it was working out, it felt so amazing to be building something with someone. So I'm in an era right now of calling that person in. And I think the right move right now is to become curious about what that might look like, what it will feel like, and even just admitting to myself that I want that level of support is huge because for the longest time, I've felt like I should or have to do things on my own. And so getting to a point of admitting that I want that support and being open to it coming in is huge for me. And just such proof about how much my identity has shifted and expanded, and how I have made really good progress in expanding my capacity to receive and my willingness to receive. So I'm super proud of myself for that. And when I envision sharing this with someone, it just feels so exciting. So I'm really living in that feeling right now and using that to just get myself on the frequency of someone that already has it. And just remaining curious and open to who they will be, how they will come into my life, and how it will all unfold. And I know that I can get there by myself, but I just think it would be so much more fun and rewarding to share it with someone. So that's where I'm at right now. That was a bit of a longer episode than usual, but it's been a while. And even though there's not a lot going on right now, everything is going on at the same time. It just feels like there's so much internal change and unseen change that's happening. And it feels like a lot of really big things are going to be coming and unfolding very soon. So I'm just taking care of myself in the process. And I just made an Instagram post actually about how sometimes betting on yourself looks like relaxing into the spaciousness and allowing that season that you're in to be okay and to be part of the process and to trust that all the hard work that you've done is paying off and that the next season of more inspired action is going to come before you know it. And you'll be happy that you took the time to rest and take care of yourself and become clearer on what you want that to look like. So that's my big update. Thank you for listening.